There we are. Hello, everybody. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. And it's Kate Richburg, and I have a special guest sitting next to me that you're going to see in about 2 seconds.
Who is it?
Who could it be?
Who could it be?
Who indeed? It looks like everything is connected. I just want to make sure that those of you who are on Facebook, there we go, I just got my notification. So I believe, there you are. I can see all
This
you
is
all.
so impressive, Kate.
Oh, well, it's,
No, seriously, this is
like,
so impressive.
It's like being in a cockpit of a plane, right?
Wow.
Alrighty. Okay, everybody, I've got somebody sitting right to my left, and you're going to see her right now.
Love your
Hennessy,
dress,
everybody.
I just have to say,
I love
the dress.
Look at
Thank
how
you.
great we look.
Wow, we do. We look amazing.
Yes, and look
for
at how,
two people who have been sheltered.
Right, sheltered.
Shut away.
We're like, wait here. I'm gonna fix the camera one more time. There we go. This way. There we are.
Excellent.
All right, and fix my necklace. There we all are. So I wanted to let you guys know. Of course, you guys know our lovely Krista Hennessy.
Howdy.
Is here with us, and you also may know that Krista has joined our Beadshop team a while back. Actually.
In a much easier role than Kate has.
Well,
much easier.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
But I did want to let you guys know that we have brought each other in to our bubbles, right? Because Brittany's here on Saturday, and usually we're running around, we're masked, we're doing all this stuff. But it's been a real, it's been great because you and your husband, Chris and I, and Brittany and Sean, we've all been...
We're each other's pod.
Yeah, we're in like this little pod.
None of us have socialized or
Mm-mm.
seen, like, I see Chris, Kate, and Brittany.
Yeah.
Brittany sees Kate, Chris, and me.
Right.
Tim sees me.
Right.
Sean sees her.
Right.
And that's it.
That's it. So we really are practicing, of course, safe distancing, and our work practices are here, but it is such a joy to be able to have Krista and Brittany here, along with the other team. Of course, we've got Diana and Jordan in the afternoons.
Yes.
We don't see each other, and Drea and Karen are off site, so we're still doing all that. So we're getting through this, though, because...
I think it's, honest to God, I think it's a testament to how much we've been able to accomplish with the alternating schedules,
with
and
this
being
remote working,
not co-located,
Yeah.
Geographically distributed. So I feel like I don't see Diana and Jordan every day, but I feel like I'm talking to them constantly with the notes and here, and they,
and it seems to be working out pretty well.
If I need anything, and and same thing with Drea and Karen.
Yeah,
it's just
Karen.
been great.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So we're getting there. So you guys, we are thinking really great thoughts. We only have 2 more broadcasts until the end of the year. Well, until the end of the year. So today, and then Christmas Eve is tomorrow, and then next week I've got another broadcast I'm very excited to share with you, and then New Year's happens. That's it. So no free tip Fridays, because although I do love you, I'm spending Christmas with my husband and not with you. That's it. And we're trying. Janice wants to see a bit more. Krista, can you scoot in a little bit more? There we go.
Yep.
There we are.
There we go.
Thank you. So we thought that we would.
Can I just say one other thing?
Here, I'll
Thank
you right
you,
there.
Kate Richburg, for the makeup tips. Look how fantastic I am.
You do look.
You guys
like
have
we
no
put our
idea.
faces on.
I normally look like a raccoon. My eyes are like black.
No.
Kate had this makeup. I swear
It's one of
to
my
God.
many talents.
I'm
It's what
proud
my
of myself
fancy
that I was able to
education
put it
got
on
me.
myself.
Well, I'll see.
But boy, did you point me in the
Today
right
I did
direction.
wings. I did wings today.
I noticed.
Because why not?
Why not?
Why not?
It's
So
Winged Wednesday.
That's right. We put on our holiday garb.
Yes, we did.
This
was
is
my
a piece,
wedding jacket.
It was your wedding jacket. Yes, indeed. And that's a piece. I want to talk about
This
the
was
piece
for
that you're
Zoe.
wearing.
So this is a shout out that if Zoe is watching today, and if Jackie is watching today, and Nancy, my peeps from my table
from the
bead
retreat.
retreat.
Yes.
This was the only thing I
Yes.
managed to accomplish at that entire retreat.
And we're going to talk about that
So.
at the end of the broadcast. I thought I'd also wear all the pearls. This
Beautiful.
is my famous 10-foot.
You've been
length
on
of
a
pearls.
tear with the
I
the
have,
pearls
with the
this
pearls.
girl has
It's been crazy.
producing.
It's been crazy. So you're drift. So we're both there. We'll get a little closer. Yeah. We'll get closer. Well, what we'll also do, you guys, is we're going to jump into this project because this has been Krista's project that we just love, and we'll tell you a little bit about the backstory from this piece and how it will translate, hopefully, to some creativity for you guys. So I'm going to put this on, let me make sure that everything is good. Oh, and before I do that, I will tell you while we rearrange here a little bit, you can find us on all of our social media, you guys. You can find us, of course, at beadshop.com on Instagram. You can find us in our Beadshop Bead Table group, right there on Facebook. And of course, you can find us right on YouTube and subscribe to all of our feeds and videos and all that kind of stuff right at beadshop.com. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. We super appreciate that. All of the shares and the comments and all of that, we really, really love it. Of course, Janice, whatever her name is, Janice. I wish you were here, our founder. I wish you were here with us. Janice is over moderating on the YouTube channel, and we've got our Gita moderating as beadshop.com over on the Facebook channel there. So, so that's what we've got. So let me go right over here and bring up the piece that we've got. Now, you, Krista, named this. This one's called Tea and Sympathy.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And so I want you to talk a little bit. Drea talked a little bit in the newsletter about the story behind this one. Mm-hmm. So you tell us a little bit about the story behind this one while I get this stuff ready.
And this is not meant to be a Debbie Downer thing at all. So over the summer, as some of you may know, I had a particularly down period where there was some illness going on in my immediate family and diagnoses, et cetera, and so forth. So I was not, I was not at my creative peak.
Right.
And all of a sudden in the post, I get this package from Kate Ferrant Richburg, and it says, make poetry. And the ingredients were included. And so I assumed, and I'm sure this was the case, I always say that the best way to get out of your head and to get away from your anxieties and to kind of cope with things a bit better is to get your hands busy. Mm-hmm. And I've said it a million times. I've said it in my professional life. I've said it to all my friends. And so I thought, this is Kate's attempt to say, Hennessy, get out of your head,
right?
Get into your hands.
And plus, I need a project. So get on it.
Get on it. And so that's exactly what happened. And so I thought it was, when I looked at the color scheme, it just all came together to me, and I thought, this is Kate's symbolic cup of tea for me. This is Tea and Sympathy, the British show Sympathy by, offering you, and it's usually a cup of warm,
hot
milky tea
That's right.
with 2 sugars in it. Mm-hmm. And the minute I looked at these colors, I thought, this is her cup of tea to me, which I was eternally grateful to you for. And then I went, now what am I going to do?
Right.
So that's how the name came.
Yeah.
Was that it was really I thought Tea and Sympathy.
Pardon my reach as I reach over this. But what I love about this, so this is the classic poetry project that Janice did for beadshop.com a while back. Yeah. So Janice did this project with the micro Ceylon, the freshwater pearls, this pearl button, and it's such a classic, right? Easy, it's fun.
But it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's elegant. It can be worn with everything. It's just lovely.
Yeah, and it's a great necklace. Mm-hmm. It's a great wrap. And so I thought that this was a perfect project to kind of start to close out the end of the year, especially now since since our holidays are going to look a little bit different. We're not going to have a lot of loved ones around and stuff. And so maybe Christmas Day, if you want some tea and sympathy, right? Starting this poetry project is a great way, I think, to keep your hands busy. Yes. And we have a bunch of samples in the poetry, but essentially the original is microcelon, and you can see that here,
Pearls.
the pearls, and that macrame flat knot. So what Krista has done is I sent her a variety of beads because we've been kind of adding to the poetry a little bit, right? And so I sent her freshwater pearls in this gray. I sent her some 6mm melons, and these are, I have them here, in the matte brown copper wash and in the antique silver.
Because she knows I'm a magpie, and
Right.
that I'm distracted by bright shiny objects.
And I thought that this melon, because we've done the poetry, I'm going to, again, pardon my reach, this is one that we did that has some of the different stones and stuff
Right.
in it.
The
And
check.
so the check glass and stuff, and I thought using the melons would be a great way to kind of introduce a new bead into it. So that's why it was what I was thinking with those melons. And then of course we've got a classic 4mm black diamond fire polish, gorgeous.
Yep.
And so that was the only, and then I sent, you actually did these charms a little bit afterwards, but I also sent, that's that button that we call Horizon Line. Yeah, which I loved. And so
It's so,
I sent you that one.
It's such an easy, I mean, it's so simple.
Yeah,
right?
and I
It's
thought
so
it was
simple.
sleek instead of
I
having a
love
round
it.
button. I like a lot. And so I sent it to you along with some thread, some of the micro and some of the fine in cocoa.
Which did make me super nervous at first. I thought, oh gosh, my big clumsy hands with that tiny micro.
Right, but
it, you know, it
you
pays
worked it.
off. You
Yeah.
stick to it and it pays
Yeah,
off.
it looks good. And so I'm going to walk you guys through this project with this and show you guys kind of how this kind of all came together, and then we will so we'll talk you through how it starts and everything. So get that tape measure, Krista, and let's actually measure this. So you actually meant this as a bracelet,
Yes.
right?
I think I was going for a 5 wrap.
And so what's the length on this thing?
On this. Door to door.
Door to door, as I like to say.
Yes.
It's about 36
and a
inches.
half.
Yeah.
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 And
so,
remember, my wrist is bigger.
Yeah.
So I was using me, and I'd say that my wrist is about a half an inch bigger than most.
Now, I like the way that this wraps, and I'm going to wrap it so you guys can kind of see how all of these daisies kind of come together. And you can see how it looks on the wrist like this. I think is really pretty. And you had some influences, and we have that influence there. So while if you'd hand me the macrame board, I'm going to get this thing set up.
I do want to mention.
Yeah, and so you talk a little bit about the designing and stuff on this.
When I was asked what I used, the thing that I slapped myself for because it was so instrumental was I did use this ultimate design board when I was originally designing
where you are here.
and laying out the beads, because I wanted to make sure when they wrapped that they would be complementary and not fighting with each other, not cannibalizing each other. So this board was really very useful. And if you don't have one of these boards, Janice and you showed, and this is in a video ages ago, about how you can make, take a piece of cardboard and fold it into kind of tents.
Right, like a little accordion.
Like a little accordion,
yeah,
and you can do
I
that.
have it in here somewhere.
But this board, I use it all the time, and which is probably why I forgot to list it on the thing. So I started off with the design using this board.
And so you just kind of laid things.
Just laid it out to say, okay, what's it going to look like? Because I didn't want these things clashing into one another.
Right.
I wanted there to be some, flow, and or as Janice said, like give it some air, so that each piece would have its own place.
And so then, you also, there was a piece that you brought to the retreat.
The virtual retreat.
But you have this one too. So talk a little bit about
so
that
at the
piece.
virtual retreat.
And what's this one called?
This one is called Water Lily, and it's called the bracelet is called Nomad, and it is on the site.
A little tighter in there for you.
And this sample was done by Allie Maury, and she brought this to the actual retreat. And I saw it at the sideboard, and I was like, oh man, that is awesome. And then you guys did a show about it, and I had this stuck in my head as I'm going to do that. And so what I did was I started tinkering around at the virtual retreat, and I made this portion using all turquoise Picasso. And then what I wanted to do, and I will go back and try to figure it out, was I wanted this to be the first part of a 5-wrap poetry. So I wanted to have this piece be the first part, and then for it to go on and on and on as a wrap. Where it fell down on my part was I tried to connect the Ceylon to to cord to leather, and using soft flex crimps, and they just didn't hold. So I've since figured out a much better way to construct it, and like I said, I will go back and do it. But this piece influenced me in so many ways.
It's such a cool piece.
And of course chartreuse, the color, or avocado, I just loved this piece.
And so
I had that unbeknownst to me, I had that in my head when I was looking at this piece and thinking, I loved the colors, but they're all, it's monochromatic. So I was trying to think, how can I use these pieces to create a little texture? And Brittany reminded me about the flowers. She said, well, would you think about doing those flowers again? And then the piece came together like that.
Yeah.
So.
No, it looks really nice. It's really, and I think that this can be, especially with this kind of monochromatic palette, you could throw in any color.
Anything.
And you can see we've got some of the other poetries that are here, and you can look at all of these on the site, but you can see we've used some of the 6mm rounds, some of the shadows here, and this one's done in the regular Ceylon. So you can see the difference. Here's the regular, and then this one has the fine and the micro, and we're going to talk about that as I put this piece together, the thread choices and stuff. And then this one, this is one that Janice did.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, I love this. These are pearls that we don't carry anymore. This was kind of a flash in the pan for these. But can you see how Janice also used the bugles in there?
But, in thinking about this too, this piece, if you wanted to get a little bit more outside the box, I'd use the large hole pearls, and I would use maybe regular Ceylon, or I could even go to tough, or I could go, if I wanted to, I could do it with leather, 0.5 or 1.
Right. Or just CKC.
Or just CKC. Oh, CKC for sure.
Would look nice. With large hole pearls would look really nice. What I love about this micro, and you can see that Janice used the bugles in there too, to go along with them. So this is a really, really great jumping off point. And so you can see, like what Krista did here with these kind of little daisy-ish kind of things, the sky's really the limit.
Yep.
So I want to show you guys, we're going to scoot this over, so I'm going to let you scoot that over, and I'm going to have you scoot over just a little bit, and I'm going to get this into the frame. I'm actually going to get this on the other side. So I'm going to use the small macrame board today to work on, but you could also work on the deep dish as well. There. Now, the way that I'm starting this, and Krista, you can also talk about how you started it. I'm going to start this in the traditional way that we start the poetry project, where we start from the button, and I'll show you how to do that. And then we'll talk a little bit, Krista, how you kind of interpreted the technique for yourself, which is great. So what I do with this fine line or horizon line button, you can see first, and again, I'm on a world's shortest poetry project, right? So usually, the base for the poetry, the micro, is you cut your length of micro and it doubles over in a flexible eye needle.
Yes.
Okay. And so that needle is on there, so it makes it easy for you to string these pearls on, because they're kind of a pain without a needle.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is I go up through my button, and if it's a shank button, it just goes through the shank, but it would go up through the button and back down. Now, the holes in this button are kind of big, so what you could do if you wanted the holes to be a little bit smaller is you could also, or have something that kind of goes through the holes, you could, wherever this piece is going to be, you could do a little bit of macrame or something around that. But since it's doubled there, you can see it works just fine. So what did you do for that button?
So,
and you need to bring it in.
Yeah, all I did was, at first I tried to do what you're doing and just go through the button a couple of times because I felt like the micro was too small for the buttonholes. And then I realized, well, wait a minute, then how am I going to get the fourth? And it just got all a bit too much. So I pulled that out and ended up going through doing exactly what you're doing and realizing that you need that extra space for it to have some air.
To have some movement, right?
Yeah, but I didn't use a needle. So that's where we got a little,
that's where we go off.
A little off path. What I did do was use your tip of using Zap glue and a baggie to make the ends of the Ceylon like needles. And
Stiff.
then I was able to throw the, thread the pearls on no problem. As per my bent. I should have probably used the needle, but I'm not.
It seemed to work.
Still not secondhand.
No, it worked. It worked for you. And so I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to put some. Oh, and Melanie's saying you could also put some beads on top of the button too, like
for
some little 11/aughts or something
classic.
like that. Would look really nice.
Yep.
So I want to show you. Let me get this a little bit tighter. So the way this is going to start is I've got my button here. And I've got the strands that have the needle attached are what I'm going to be macrameing around. So I'm going to put that right into my board right here. Let me get it a little bit wider. There we go. So it's here. And then I'm going to lift that up with some Ceylon. And then I'm going to bring these two strands and see how I can see the back of the button here. Right? And again, like Janice is saying, you can go back up and around the button again too. But however you want to secure it works out. And so see how I'm bringing one of the strands of Ceylon to the right-hand side, and then I've got the other on the left. Okay? And so then what I'll do is I'm going to come in and I'm just going to do a macrame flat knot. So I'm going to start from the left, make that loop. And this is one of our skill builders on our website, right, that Brittany, also we have a video of how to do it, right? So I take my right hand thread over that length of the left, under those center strands, and back and up through that loop, and then I tighten it. So there's half of my flat knot. And we want, again, a little bit of air there. There's a little bit of space. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to get a little bit tighter in here so you guys can see it. I'm going to tie my next one. So I started from the left last time, so I'm going to start from the right. There's my P. This side, over that tail, under the center, and up through the loop.
When I learned this from you guys from the skill builder, I always, to myself, I call this minding my P's and Q's.
Yes, exactly.
The very polite macrame. Mind your P's and Q's.
Indeed. I'm gonna, and what you can also do, I want to show you how I've got this set up. Let me get this a little bit wider here. Is here on the macrame board, I've got my little piece of, my little spool of Ceylon there, right? So I've got a tunnel under there to use. And then I can also kind of get my clamper here and clamp that thread down because it's going through the little notch in the board. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to, so you decide what you want to do, but like what Krista has here, and you can see this in the project map that Karen has done, right? You can follow along with this pattern or start to create your own. What I'm going to do so that I can secure this button down is I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to macrame. Now, if you'll notice, Krista has some heavier thread that she's got going on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to macrame this down so it's closed. And I'm going to do it, I don't know, for a few, just so it clears the button. A little bit there, back and forth. And then we're going to jump in to some heavier threads. Okay, so I'm going to, it looks like Krista's done just choose some beads, right? So we'll get this guy here, and we'll string, so the beads string on that center strand, but this is just in actuality one whole long strand.
That's right.
Right? So I'm going to do that, I'll do this, and then I'll do maybe a pearl, and then we'll jump into the
there are
daisy.
Two things that I'd like to add that make this exceptionally nice for, so as our Emily Miller has her car projects, you know, and points out which projects are really easy to do if you're the passenger in the car, right? This is one of them. And by laying the design out on the design board first, you can pre-string all of the beads that you need on the center strand before you go anywhere.
Right.
So because you pull them up as you need them. So the only ones that you would need to add later is when you get into the daisies, because as you'll show later on, to make the daisy, there are beads that you need to put on the side cords.
Right.
But if you're not going to make daisies and you want to do a straight up poetry, string them all.
Yeah, string them all
first. And this project is exceptional in that very few. You don't need to carry a whole lot of tools once you've got your beads.
Right. It's a good travel project. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to add some thread. So I've got these down here, and remember how I did my macrame with the micro? This is the micro. Well, now I've got some fine going on here. Okay, so I'm just going to come in and I'm going to go over that micro cord, and I'm just going to introduce, I'm going to actually start it a little bit higher. And the reason you want the micro thread to be running down the center of your piece, right? Because if you're using just like check glass and stuff that has large holes, it doesn't matter. But if you're using pearls, you've got to use micro.
There's
right?
no other way.
Yeah, it's not going to fit on the fine. So let me lift this back up. I was going to add a little bit of glue, but I actually don't think I need to. So I'm going to get that baggie out of the way. So I'm going to find the center point here. There we go. And I'm just going to start with the flat macrame, and I'm just going to go right, just nestle it in there. Whoops, you can't see that at all. There you go.
That's
nestle
exactly
that right
how
in
I
there.
did it.
Okay, and then we'll just macrame it down. And I'll keep, so these side threads of the micro, I'm going to keep them because you want to carry them along, because you'll use them for the pearls and stuff as you need to string those on. And you'll see what I mean as I get down there a little bit further. And it gives you a little bit more weight in the center strand since I'm carrying along these threads. Let me just get that there. There we go. And then this guy goes up. Sorry. I could just let it go, but I just can't because it doesn't look right. Let me fix it. That's why your knotting tweezers, your friend and mine, the knotting tweezers, help you.
Tweezers.
That's right. Get that out of there. There we go. That's better. And having that little seal on underneath there makes a nice little bridge.
It's
so
like it
there.
acts sort of like like a teeth where you can.
Oh yeah, here at the top. Yeah, it really grabs on.
So it just grabs onto it.
Now again, I could have added a little bit of glue, but I'm not cutting anything away. So if I'm not cutting it away, I don't want the glue because it could be unsightly.
And you don't have to, I mean, this was a aesthetic choice for me in that I wanted it to look a little bit meatier, but you can easily just stick with the micro and have it be, you know, more dainty.
But it's fun to incorporate, I think, the new threads, the different sizes of threads too, like this. And your center cord, if you don't have the micro in the cocoa color, you could use the micro for the center, right? And then add your second color.
Remember when you told me to scale it back, that I was getting a little, you're like, Krista, focus. Because the things that I was thinking about were, you can make the thread be a design decision. You can certainly change out and use different color threads, a la Brittany with her herringbone and with the 5-stitch projects when the different threads kind of meld into each other. There are also, I think we had just released those the rectangle beads.
Oh, the table cuts.
The table cuts. And I was thinking as I was doing this that this would be a perfect project for that, because those beads would sit flat on the wrist.
They would be really nice for poetry, those table cuts. And they have such a vintage look.
So that's on my list for another go round.
So see how I've put all of these in so they run through. And then I'm going to show you what we're going to do when we get to the pearl. But I'm going to bring this around. And then I'm going to...
That looks super pretty.
Come through here and tighten. God, my hands aren't used to macrame right now.
Well, and these melon beads, great to macrame, right? Because they sit inside the melon.
Yeah, it's nice. Now, Janice was asking, I want to look and see what Melanie is saying, and I wanted to read this. She says she only has regular Ceylon, and the way that she makes her poetry is with one strand of the regular in the center, and then one on each side, so 3 strands total. That would work too.
But I'm not sure you could get the pearl.
I'm going to check it.
Okay, because I couldn't get the pearl on.
I'm going to check it and see if it works.
Janice knows that I was really freaked out about the micro because my hands are so big. And so I tried it, and I just couldn't get the pearl on. And in a way, I'm kind of glad I couldn't, because it forced me to go with the micro. And now I realize that if you can macrame regular, you can macrame micro, you can macrame fine. It gives you much more options. And it does have a very different look and feel.
So now I'm just going to come in, I don't know, I'll do a couple of these, I don't know, that, and then I'm going to slide this smaller one up. So you can see, you could carry along, like if I'll do it this way too. If I'm carrying along that fine, I could just carry along, let me get this here. Make sure I've got the right ones. Yep, there we go. And I could just bring it around the side. Let me tighten this up. There we go. So we could also just bring it and act as if these 2 strands are one. It's also a way to incorporate, especially if these strands were 2 different colors. Right? You could incorporate the 2 colors there. But you can see here how it just kind of slides in there, right? So I'll go ahead and do a couple of these together. There we go. Now I'll drop that center micro again. And of course, I'd be using much longer threads.
Well, and again, this, I'll say to 2 things about that. Yes, you'd use slightly longer than the world's smallest bracelet, and you'd wrap it around the macrame board and then certainly around the sides of the board.
Right,
and
so you've got a lot of tension.
It's snug. But this was also a very easy project to add thread to.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel the need that I had to have
the world's
2
longest
feet
threads
on either side.
Exactly. And I want to show you guys this up close because that little trick where I just brought the threads around the outside of that fire polish.
It's beautiful.
Let me get there. You can't really tell.
Mm-mm.
Let me get in a little bit tighter here. So see there, sorry, the camera's shaking a little bit. So you can see here, and if I kind of turn it to the side, that melon bead is good there, but you can see I did that with the two, and it's hardly noticeable. But again, this is a good way, I think, if you wanted to incorporate another thread color, right? A different thread in here, okay? So let me slide up, I'm gonna slide up this pearl here, and I'm gonna kind of jump to, well, you did a melon.
Yes.
For the center.
Yes.
But I'll use a pearl because it's here. Right? And so you used, it looks like 1, 2, 3.
3 on either side.
So let's see if 3 is too big or if it's wrong or whatever. Or I could also make this, as I start to deviate from our pattern, I could also make this with the pearls going around.
Yes.
I could. But let me see if I can string both
I knew
of these cords.
that it was 3 because in my head these were 4 to 5 millimeter pearls, and then the glass I knew was 4 millimeters.
Right, so it worked.
It worked.
I'm gonna just bring this around then, and I'll do it around the melon. I don't want to go borrowing trouble because you had it be tried and true. So sorry, I'm out of frame. It's hard to demo and stay in frame all at the same time.
Well,
so
what you did to get on camera with all of the...
It's like flying a plane.
It's like flying a plane.
It is.
And I thought, can I just go back to filling some orders?
Right? I know. Let me tighten this up. There we go. That's better. I was having a little bit of a tension problem there. No,
back in the day when we used to be able to fly, back in the day when we used to be able to go
Oops,
anywhere
sorry,
at
I'm a
all.
little tight here.
I think the gentleman on either side of me, when I was commuting for work, would have been much happier if I had known the whole idea that you could add thread. Because I was doing these projects with my macrame board with like the 2 yards
giant,
of thread,
right,
trying to be
days.
very contained.
Yes.
It was very funny.
Well, we'll be able to macrame on
Yes.
planes again eventually. And there's a question, Sabrina has a question. She's saying, I need to get some of that seal on, which yes, you do.
Yes.
But you could try, and she's asking about the different threads, like what threads could you use and stuff. And
Tough.
Yeah, you could use tough cord, you could use CKC. You could look in your stash and take a look and see what, I don't know, what might work.
It's basically what you want it to look and feel like. The tough is going to obviously live up to its name, and it's going to be a little bit meatier. So if you're wearing it all the time, or you go in and out of a pool with the pearls, I may not suggest that, but what materials you use, it will withstand more.
Right.
The Ceylon is a happy medium. I have great luck with Ceylon. The KO, you could use the KO for the center strand
for the center
pearls,
strand,
but
it would be a little. It would be a little skinny,
really skinny.
Yeah.
And
what Gita just she just linked our Stittionary.
Yes.
And the Stittionary is a really good resource for you.
Yeah.
So notice what I did here. I'm kind of tired of having both of these strands hang around. So I am going to get rid of these, the micro seal on here.
May I suggest a miracle of
You can.
modern engineering to get rid of them?
I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of knots over the top, and then I'm going to cut them away. So you can see I added a little bit of hypo cement just there, and my baggie is here. And I'm going to knot right over that hypo so that when I do, see how it just kind of goes right in there. So when I do cut these away, I will have a little bit of glue there holding them in place. And I'm going to do one more here. And before I tighten it down, I'm going to add that dot right there. Now, if this were real jewelry making time, you guys, and not demo the world's smallest poetry bracelet time, right? I would not cut these threads away until my glue had cured, right? So I always like to wait like 24 hours. But I'm going to tighten that in. And then you're going to hand me those thread snips.
Yes.
I could also thread burn these away, but I'm going to just cut them. And I'm going to use these thread
My
snips
new
right here.
favorites.
Yeah.
Now,
indeed.
I don't want the old school thread snips to feel bad because they still,
So
serve
that
a
one
very
goes-
good purpose. But
yes.
these ones, oh
Yeah.
my
Well, they're
word.
made for cord. I
And
mean,
they're so
really
accurate.
And they have, what these do is they have one side that has these little serrations. So what that serration does is it grabs the thread.
Right.
So
there.
it doesn't slip around as you're cutting it. So it's really good.
So for anyone who has an undiagnosed case of OCD, like myself, it's such satisfaction to know that you got it exactly
where you wanted it, yeah. And then I'm just going to continue a couple more here. Right? So there and there. So now let's do a daisy.
Okay.
Okay? And you can see how easy it is to pick up thread, to drop thread. I mean, there's no one right way to do this.
And the
okay,
hypo
with
does that when it dries, it does dry.
Yeah, it'll
so
dry.
There's
And-
no. At first, I was like, oh no. When I was
Yeah.
using it, I thought it was changing the thread color. No,
No.
No,
It
it
darkens
doesn't.
maybe just slightly, but it's hardly
but not
noticeable.
noticeable.
So I'm going to go ahead. You did a melon in the center, so I'll do that. And then on the sides with, whoops, come back here. There we go. That one. And then, now on the sides, yeah, we'll use the black diamond. Now this is where Krista was also saying that she used the zap glue, right? And so the zap,
I only used it when I was doing the pearls
right,
on the side
right.
boards.
But you could use them.
use it. You could absolutely use it.
And I know some of you are thinking, oh, you could also wax it. You could if you felt the need. So here's the 3. That's going to go here, and then the 3 over here. And these are called the shears that we use. It's the Xuron thread and cord cutter, the precision scissors. We've got them right on beadshop.com, and I believe that Gita just linked it over on the Facebook page, and I think that
These were one of those things where I thought, Krista, do you really need another pair of pliers? And then I thought, heck
you
yeah.
do. Yeah,
And
they're
now
so good.
these are like my go-to.
Yeah, they're such a good tool.
I saw Tim reach for them to cut one of his, he was
No.
changing his guitar string,
No.
and I looked at him and gave, and
Yeah,
he just
does
put
he
them
want a
back
divorce?
very
Because
sheepishly.
yeah, Chris knows.
Chris
Chris even
use that bucket over there.
Yeah.
Don't be touching
no.
this.
Chris is so funny. He will look at me like if I'm cutting something at home, and he'll look and he'll be like, "Are you using your thread scissors on that package you're trying to hack open?"
Yes.
I'm like, "Oh, yeah,
Don't
okay,
be touching
right."
them.
He's totally trained. So now, see how I have these on the side? Now we're just going to tie it. Do our first macrame knot to bring them all together. So see, there's that daisy.
And this was also, if you want to change thread, this was the place where I normally change the thread because the flower hides it. Like the flower acts as a little camouflage for you in the way that it sits.
So I could add more thread,
Like
I could add it right.
Yeah, you could see that you can see in that one in particular that I added thread underneath
Oh yeah,
there.
right there. And so that could just be carried along underneath, and you change it out just like I did up here, right? So let me just add a few. Now you want to be careful. See how my loop is a little, I'm going to get a little tighter so you can see it. It's a little loose. So I'm actually going to undo this, and I'm going to make sure that my first knot, see here when I tie that in?
Is taut.
Yeah, it needs to be really taut. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to be aware of what I'm doing. And what you kind of need to do is before you tighten the second one is tighten the first one. I kind of put my finger down on it, right? And then I tighten the second one below it.
I took the tip of my beading awl and put it right in the center
right
there and then pulled.
And so see, that looks a lot less floppy. Is that I think that's the right way to put it, right? And now I'm just going to continue on with that.
Isn't it fun?
It is very fun.
I'm telling you.
I tell you.
These kind of things make me late. Because you get into them.
Right.
You're like, dang.
And you never want to go. Yeah, you don't want to stop.
You've got more than 10 minutes and you think, oh, I could knock off like 2 or 3 inches in 10 minutes. And then you keep going and then you're like, dang, where did my 10 minutes go?
Exactly.
I was making poetry. I did say that to someone. Someone who was like, I'm so sorry, I was making poetry. And they took it to mean.
Right, that you were actually.
Yes. Here I am.
One of the great.
Sylvia
you were
Plath.
actually Keats.
Keats.
You were Keatsing it up.
Brown pennies.
Yes. Or what's that from? From Enchanted April? You remember the movie Enchanted April? You saw Keats. Do you often see dead poets walking across?
Oh my God.
Yes, I need to watch that again.
Yeah.
So there's the daisy. Let's do. I'm gonna do. Yeah. So I'm gonna add a couple. I don't know. Since I've got this micro and it's here, I'm gonna add another pearl. Pardon my reach over there.
You can tell that where I was getting more confident because that's when I thought, all right, I'm gonna try the twist.
Right.
I'm gonna try the.
So bring this under. So bring it under the camera so people can see it. So you've kind of changed things up there a little. I'm going to move this out of the way so people can see it.
And then there's a better one where you can see what the heck was she thinking. It was flat, flat, flat. And then I thought, right here. I had kind of tired of doing flat, and so here I thought, I'm just going to wing it and do a little
bit more of a twist. There you go. It's right there.
So
the twist is the same way, right? And so I'm going to put this. I'm going to put this back here, and I'll show you.
And again, it was my way of trying to create more interest if there needed to be. I don't know that there did, because the way I had designed this. These were all very similar, and I thought, how am I going to show the beauty of how different these really are? And
so putting in a little bit of that different stitch, I think is nice.
A little visual difference.
So I'm going to start here, right, or do this one here, and we'll tie it down. We'll bring the thread around. And so now, with the twisted macrame, I'm going to just keep looping to the right, right? So if you just keep making the loop in one direction, your thread is going to twist.
And then this is where, again, shout out to Brittany, because she told us, remember she told both of us, that this is the way that you keep the heavier elements flat, is in you put in a couple of twists and then you go back to the square knot. So I thought, wow, okay, I'll try it.
She showed us that.
She showed us that, and it was like mind-blowing.
She puts just 2 little twisty stitches when it's a big flat element.
When it's a big flat element, yep.
And it keeps them right into place. So see how that's starting to twist already, right?
The other thing is that you'll feel like the threads are getting very, very tangled, and both of you told me as long as you just keep going in the same direction,
right, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
So see how it's just twisting. So just let it twist and just ignore it, right? Just keep tying, and if you just keep,
because you lose the sense of what's my left cord and what's my right cord.
Right.
And
It doesn't
both
just
keep tying.
Just keep tying
in
to the
one
right
direction.
and don't switch the cords.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep going and it will twist. Now, what you can also do is you can untighten it
Mm-hmm.
if you want and kind of turn it. Like that's my right cord there. Yep. So I'll kind of untwist it a bit. But you can see, there it is.
I dig it, see?
With that
so
little
cool.
bit of a twist.
Love
I'm
it.
going to do a few more. So it'll be a little more obvious to you guys. Get that underneath there. Here's my right. That's my right cord.
So this is one of those ones that if you're doing this with kids and you want to keep them interested, right, you can say, well, let's do a little twist now.
That's right. Exactly. See, I put it down, but I want to make sure that that's correct. I believe that is the right one. And continue to go to the right and just let it twist. Now, you did, whoops, if it wants to come undone, there we go, tighten it, and then get that other one just right up against it.
Yep.
And you can do this with, I'm working with the fine at this very moment, but you can, but you can also do it with the micro. Sorry, I got it.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a little closer to my eyes. You show that.
So this is the twist with the fine right in there. And then this is the twist with the micro. So again, it just reflects different textures.
It looks really nice. So. And Melanie, what Melanie is saying is that sometimes she flips hers, her knotting cord underneath onto the other side, and she says as long as you're knotting with the same cord around, it'll work just fine.
That's exactly, absolutely. Yep.
And I'm going to get
Melanie's,
this back
I think, a bit more competent macrameer than me
at
this point.
Wow.
But I'll get there, Mel. I'll get there.
Well, there we go. Okay, that twist. So we just continue to twist. And so then, once you've done your little section, you will just get your whatever is next.
If you've pre-strung, you just slide it up. Otherwise, you pick your own adventure.
And then it's easy just to go right back to the flat.
Yep.
Just like that. And then you can continue around. Now, when you were laying this out, Krista, you were talking a little bit about not having the elements compete or butt up against each other.
And I'll tell you why that came about. I started to make this,
and I'll move out of the way.
And I still want to finish it because this is one of my favorites. I started to make this project of Janice's, and what I did was, because I was so even on how many stitches were between pearls, when I wrapped it around my wrist, there wasn't that easy flow. It was the pearls were knocking against each other and competing, because I had left, I think I'd done double the space of knotting between each one. Like Janice has done, half the amount. So the pearls didn't lay properly. So I thought, all right, if I lay it out on a board, which is, again, the other reason for the project map. When you look at the project map, you get an idea of what's going to be next to what element when it's wrapped on your wrist. So that's why my experience having done this said, okay, I don't want to compete.
Right.
I don't want to do the same thing I don't want to make the same mistake twice.
Right. And so then when this is laid out, you can see like you bunched those guys together, and then when this comes around,
exactly,
right, you can see,
and then that,
right, so that it's kind of offset, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep.
If that makes sense. So I'm going to, I like this element a lot with the melons. So let me just do that one, just to see if there's any difference between doing this one with the lighter one and doing it with all the melons.
The melons were so fun.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my neighbors, we socially distanced, and she saw, and she looked at it and she said, I had put it in an envelope and put it under her door. And then we were talking via FaceTime, and she said, wait a minute, is this macrame? And I said, yes. And she said, I thought it was chain.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, no.
It has that color to it,
Yeah, it has
doesn't
that
it?
color to it. And she said, my God. And she goes, I only think about macrame as like camp. This is so beautiful.
Right, so
like
elevated.
what you made when you're, she's like, this is so beautiful. I said, well, thank you very much. But yeah, first she thought it was chain, and it never occurred to her that you could have a grown-up bracelet made of macrame. So I was pleased about that.
And how many wraps you intended yours to be?
I wanted it to be 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so somewhere between 3 and 5,
Yeah.
though if you're Allie Morey, you're making crazy 12 wraps,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and Allie has
Which is
tiny,
awesome.
tiny wrists as well.
She does. Those
So.
epic wraps. You can see a great one for inspiration if you're newer to watching us. If you go to beadshop.com and you go to, if you go to Allie's lookbook, her year of wrap bracelets.
That year of wrap bracelets. Yes.
That, to me, out of many of the 4 years now going into 5 years that we've been doing this broadcast, that one just so stands out to me as being so
oh my gosh,
epic.
Can you imagine when we were
nuts.
at the people's mouths were literally hanging open at the idea that she took on this project, that she was going to make a wrap bracelet out of every monthly mix.
And it was really incredible.
And they were all different.
They were really great.
It was amazing.
Yeah. And you can see them in our lookbooks on our lookbook section on beadshop.com. There's several lookbooks there that the design team and everything is put together, and it's pretty incredible. So with these melons being a little heavier, they also want to flop around a little bit. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to do that where it tightens. I'm going to look at the tension there, right, like this. And then I'm going to come in, kind of put my finger on there and do that second knot. And if I have to kind of slide it up or tighten these first ones, that first knot, and then come in and tighten the second knot so it's not flopping around too much. That's how I deal with it. Okay. So yeah, all of the, as I say, all of those lookbooks are really, they're just chock full of ideas. And so you go right to, and I think Janice just linked them in the chat on YouTube, and I'm sure Gita is not far behind. Yeah, I see them both linked in the chat. So there's that. That's ready to go.
Because this isn't, actually this bracelet is in the second lookbook that where Faye and Kim and Danielle, and they're all the design team
put these together. Now I want to show you guys here with this one that's called Water Lily, and it's very similar like what Krista has got going on here. Right, Allie used the drops on this side. So I'm going to make another daisy here.
Cool.
And I want to use, because the beads that we've got, I'm just going to go ahead and do this, because you could also mix your beads in around the daisy. So I want to check, number one, that the pearl is going to go on this. So I'm going to make, we were talking about making, and we've got some time, we've been talking about making the needles with that zap glue. So I'm just going to show you. Hopefully this is a zap that's good. I'm going to squeeze out a little zap right there on my baggie. Brittany just popped on the YouTube channel, so
Hi, Britt.
she wanted to say a happy holidays to everyone. Probably her ears were burning because we were saying so many good things about you, I hope. And Emily, I saw Emily pop on earlier.
Oh, neat.
While she's baking, so she was on the Facebook feed. So I'm sorry, Em, I didn't get a shout out to you earlier, but if I knew you, you're still watching. So a big shout out.
Three really good things. Brittany, Emily, and bread.
Right, all together. That's right. I'm going to add a little more of that zap. So see how I put the zap on the baggie and I kind of push it, use it to massage that zap right into the thread.
And don't use a lot of zap because when you press it, it comes out like ketchup on a hot dog. So.
And you don't want to thicken the thread too much.
Right.
So you just need a little bit. So see how that stiffens. And the zap dries almost instantly, really. This one that I did earlier is already dried. And you want to do it, you guys, in a well-ventilated area.
And then I used these to cut the, you know how you cut at an angle.
Angle cut it.
Yeah.
So here's my zap, and it's already stiffened, this end. So I'm going to come in and I'll angle cut it. And I'll angle cut this side. Thank you for those. And let's take a look and see how this works for these single strands. Will it go on?
No. I think you have to use the micro.
I don't know. It's so close. You could also, we've got the bead reamer, you could put these underwater and ream them out just slightly. But let's see how much of this thread I got in there. I got a pretty good amount. Let me see if there's if the pearl's a little larger, these are 4 to 5 millimeters, so they're a little small. So the holes are pretty small. Yeah, that's a no-go for this guy. Oh well, we tried. But what I am going to do is...
You could do all black diamond or you could do all melon. Or
I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this black diamond. And it makes it a lot easier to put these on anyway. There's that.
Oh, that's going to be pretty.
And then let's put this one on. One of these. One of these.
And this was also, again, this kind of threaded into the Tea and Sympathy because I love daisies are my mother's absolute favorite.
Oh, her
and
favorite
she had
flowers. That's
a
nice.
wedding bouquet that literally cascaded all the way down. It was almost like 2 feet in length of all daisies.
Oh, wow.
And they're happy flowers.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It made me...
Let's see how it looks around a pearl. This pearl might be a little small. So you know what? I'm going to put it over this. Okay.
Oh, that's going to look neat.
So I'll get this back down. And again, if I spent some time with the bead reamer, with the pearls, underwater, being very careful, I could ream that pearl open probably.
Or you could just tie on a piece of
looks.
micro if you wanted here and
I
use
could.
the micro on
I could.
either side.
I could,
Yep.
exactly. So let's trade some thread. Let's do that. I'm going to put this on there. See how it wants to undo. So we'll just kind of tighten it. Tell that bead
Show that
who's
bead is
boss. And get this down. And then let's add some micro to the outside. And we'll drop this fine from the outside. Really getting familiar and getting comfortable with adding and dropping thread will open up a whole realm of possibilities to you. Okay. Let's get there. Let's make a little more space so it's a little, so we've got a...
I also thought that the micro was going to be way too hard on my eyes because my eyes just aren't what they were. And that's rubbish. I mean, in the beginning, it's a little bit more difficult, but it's the as soon as you've got the macrame knot
as soon as
down,
you have the rhythm,
you're fine.
It's not too bad. So let me get some micro. It's right here by me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll drop it here. Okay. So I'm going to get the thinner micro, and you can see the difference between the micro and the fine size-wise. And again, go to the Stittionary.
Yeah.
And it'll explain a lot more. But you can see here how the fine is over here to the left and the micro is over here to the right. So let me cut a length. I don't know, it doesn't have to be that long. And go ahead and just give that a little clip right there. Great. And then I'm going to add this thread. I'm going to take all of these threads in one of the little grooves here. Okay. And then I'll put a little space here. Give me some little space. Here's what happened to my thread. There we go. I'm going to give it just a little bit of a stretch to get some of this curl out of it, though you could use your beeswax, or you could use that straightening iron trick that we all learned at the retreat. From Alice Howe.
That's right. That was a good urn.
Yeah, that was a real good one. I like that. I have a little travel. I don't think it's in here. I think it's
I know.
in my office,
I was on the brink of taking it to the charity shop because, of course, I had the short hair. No, we went with the short hair, and now since we've been
have the COVID
cut,
right?
I'm back to. I could actually use that thing again.
So see here how I've just put my fine or my micro underneath like this, and I'm just tying it on. Right, I'm doing my first macrame knot. There's nothing overly complicated about it, but I'm going over all 4 of the strands now, the interior. So I'm going to go a little further. Maybe I'm going to do 3 knots.
And at first I thought, oh, you got to put the glue and by the end of it I thought, no, you don't.
Yeah.
It really doesn't go anywhere.
No, it doesn't. I'm going to actually put a little bit of glue here because I'm going to add just a couple of knots, and then I am going to take them away and put a bead on it. But if you go down a little bit further, sometimes glue, you don't even need to glue it. But see, just a little touch of that glue will just make sure that everything is all nice and even. So I'm going to take out these that I'm going to cut away, and I'm going to clip them. Alice is there. She's watching.
Fantastic.
That's right. Alice
breathed new life into an implement that was headed to the charity shop.
Right. Now I'm going to clip this, being very careful only to cut that thread, because we don't want it to all end in tears as I toss that piece of thread right over to Krista. And then I'm going to do one more knot just to cover the tiniest of little tails. And then, there we go. Now, let's do yet another daisy, shall we? Might as well, we're kind of on a roll. Because I want to see if I can get these, which I know I can, the pearls on these micro along the outside.
I also thought, again, your beloved little shadows. This is a great project for your little shadows. Yeah, it would be great for this.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to go on and see how they just go right in. Whoops, except I can't.
This, to me, really is one of those projects where less is more, because you're actually creating a new bead by doing the daisies.
Right.
So you don't have to have cluster. 600 beads, just less is more. And then sort of like you guys did with the tassels, where you started creating elements, cages, and it adds interest.
When Janice did the tassel bead at the retreat, I want to, Janice, I know you're listening. I would like to revisit that project because I have her sample from the retreat, and it's kind of sumptuous.
It is.
That piece.
It is.
Right. So here's those 3, and I'm gonna go right here, 1. Now again, I could zap these ends, but instead I'm just feeding these through. They have a little bit of an angle cut.
This is like stationery come to life because this. See how easy it is for you to do this?
Yeah.
Why fuss around trying to shove it onto fine
thread
or
that's bigger?
Right, like
exactly.
Just go
use the
with
right
the
thread.
Use the right thread. But to Mel's point, if you don't have that thread, you can still do this design using different beads.
Yeah, you just adapt the beads. So here comes this. We'll put this down the center, put it here, and around the side to tighten. Again, the world's smallest bracelet. We should have brought Alfred today.
We should have. Or we
maybe
should get a
next
picky
week.
of him with, because it'll actually more likely, or maybe the lady.
No, maybe.
As a bracelet.
That lady. Little Florence.
Florence.
So here's that one. You can see with the pearls.
That looks great.
Janice is saying, I wish I could remember it. Janice, I'll send you the photo. I've been hanging on to that bead, your tassel bead.
Yes.
For a while.
I think it's here.
So no, it's in my office, I think. Because I didn't want it to. I really like it a lot.
We loved it.
She used the spindles for it. So see, there we go. And now we just go right into, we could bring the fine back in, right? If we wanted to have that fine. Or we could just continue with the micro. And then we'll micro for a while. Everyone's saying that they miss Alfred. Yeah, we'll have to bring him. He is just a monster. He's huge. He's by far, I think, the biggest cat I've ever owned. And he's Chris's boon companion. They are never far from each other when they're at home. Okay, so you can see, and I'll flatten all of this out. This actually goes this way, I think. That's right. And let me arrange this so you guys can see that.
Isn't that pretty?
Yeah, it's really pretty. And you can see here how, and I've just kind of, sort of purposefully, I guess, maybe that one's big, that one's kind of medium-sized, and that one is smaller. So I think they're all kind of fun. Here you can see a little bit of thread here, so maybe using just with this melon, because it kind of pushes everything out of shape, you could use a little 11-aught seed bead there and there, and it would take up that space. I think it would look nice. Let's see if we have any questions. Melanie is saying that she misses Alfred, and how much does he weigh? I think he's probably about 17 pounds, though my mom is saying we used to have a cat named Capone, and we call him the Pony. Pony, I think, may have actually been larger than that, but it's true. It is true.
He does have
all these cats.
He does have impressive sized paws.
Yeah, his paws are ridiculous. It's crazy. So here we are, and then just to close it off, because we're about at that time, essentially, I'll just, let's look at your closure and the way that you did it there, and with the little charms and stuff here, right? So, all I do is I come in, I'm going to come down, I'm going to make the loop, and then I come back down and go back on itself. So let me, though with micro, it's kind of a lot, but, or not, you know, it takes a lot of micro to do it. But let me see. But what you want to do is, like with anything when you're creating the loop, you want to make sure that you don't make the loop too big
or small.
Or too small, exactly. And so the trick with this long button, and we have another long one.
We do. We have
here. Where did it go?
Put it?
Where did it go?
You want to talk about? Here it is.
There it is. So show kind of how you, on this loop, while I do some of this macrame here real quick.
I literally came in,
and make sure you're,
am I in?
There you go.
I literally came in and I kept measuring the part that you were macrameing there, and I kept putting it around, and I used the rule of thumb that Janice always says, which is the button should fit snugly but not too snug, because you don't want it is going to stretch with time, so you want to err on it being slightly more snug than loose, but if you make it too snug, then it artificially makes it loosen up.
Right.
Because you're shoving that button through.
Exactly.
So
it has to fit almost just perfectly.
Yeah. So if you see, the loop is basically maybe 2 or 3 knots wider than the bead, than the button is wide. And then that's again where the tail underneath here is important, because in order to get it around the end of the button, you have to have some air.
Right, a little bit of space. And so you can see here, I'm getting there. Let me see if I can get, so while I'm working on this, this guy, do you want to show maybe just a couple, reiterate, just a couple of those guys that we've got there? And I'm going for broke here for this one.
So this is the original poetry. I believe this is the original poetry. And
with the micro.
And again, if you can see the pearl button, where's my hands? In here. The pearl button, if you measure it up against the loop, you see that it's just slightly larger than where the pearl is at its widest point.
And you can see how the pearl was added. The Ceylon was just knotted at the end, right? So that's actually the Ceylon that just comes through.
Right.
What are the other closures that we've got on some of these, so people can see those?
So I want to see if we have one with a shank button on it.
And we have this one. Allie's has a shank button.
That's right.
Show that.
Okay. So again, here's another one that has the double I, what I call the double I, but it's a square button. So if you look again, the button is just a hair smaller than the loop. So you would, if this is, I'm saying that's about a 1/2 inch. The button loop, and if you really want to get technical, you can measure your button. I always think it's better to do it by hand. Yeah, so the button loop is about a 1/2 inch, which means that you are macrameing 1 inch, and then you're folding that over. You're folding the inch that you macrameed back over, and then that's what creates your loop here.
And you could do, I like doing it with the flat macrame, though you could do it with a twist if you like, but I think that the flat macrame looks really pretty.
And then with a shank button, which Allie has here, again, like Kate said, you just put it through the shank the way you would put it through the eyes, but you also see where she macrames to the edge of her button, which is what gives you enough air to get the button over, over the loop, and then it just sits quite nicely, look at me, under there.
Yeah,
like that.
Looks nice.
So
this might be close to what I need. Let me see.
Yep,
I'm gonna try one more knot. And then what I should have done before I did this, and I'll show you, is that there should be some kind of bead, like right here. Whoops, pearls are going all over the place.
Oh, like, yeah.
Like what you did for your closure. Let me get this out of the way. So like with Krista, what she did, where the loop began and ended, whoops, right there, you can see that there's a bead there. Mine, I'm just gonna end, right? So I've got this here. And again, it's the world's tiniest
You
bracelet.
could still do it if you wanted to, because you could put a bead here, do 1 or 2 knots, and then loop it over.
And it actually is, it's still just a little short, I think.
No, that's
what
perfect.
I need. But see, it can go.
That's good.
And then I can macrame right there. So see how this is, whoops, you can't see. See how this is going here? Like this. And Janice is saying the same thing. I don't have to have a bead. I can just go back over the macrame.
Yep.
It's true. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to pin that macrame down. I think I've got a tinier pin right there. I'm just going to pin that to the board. Actually, I want it to pin the other way because I'm going to come up and around it. So I'm pinning through that loop completely. And then let me get everything arranged so I'm using the right strands. There's that one. This is what's coming out of the loop. There we go. I'm just going to put a pin maybe right.
You have no idea how refreshing it is to actually have
There.
you be putting a pin in something instead of that corporate speak that says, let's put a pin in it.
Right, exactly. Let's put a pin in this.
Let's put a pin in this. I
Right.
love it. We are literally putting a pin in it.
We are. Corporate speak is my least favorite thing in the world. I need a little bit of space, but we can circle back around and talk about that later. See what I did there. See, that's
I'm so easily amused.
right. I need a little bit of a bridge underneath there, so there we go. I'm gonna actually pin this down here. Getting the tension right is like your whole battle with the macrame. So there you go. I think you guys can see here. So see what I've done is there's my loop, and I'm coming back around, and now I'm gonna macrame over this original macrame here. So let me get real tight there so you can see it, okay? And so like I was saying, you could have a bead there, but you don't actually need that. And I'll come in, and of course I'm doing this part with micro, so it takes longer because the thread is smaller.
But once you get that first
that's
knot,
okay.
You're good.
Yeah, you're good. So here's this. Yeah, there you go. And see how it just locks in there. I want this thread that's coming down. I want everything to line up correctly, so bear with me here just a second because it'll make the knot sit nicer. There we go. We get this back there, and then I'll come in and tighten it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then I'll just continue my loop. Now if that first knot comes loose, tighten it up, kind of hold your finger there and tighten up the second one. And once you've got your two knots there, you're going to be in good shape. Now I'm going to macrame, I don't know, a couple more, and then I'll add just a tiny bit of glue and macrame over the top of that glue. So here's that. There's that right there, you can see. Okay. Now, I would add just a hair of glue right there.
Beauty.
And we're gonna... But everybody has their own way of doing this, right? So you can, you could close this off in a mirror, you could put a crimp on the end of this or whatever, right? Just do what works for you. But I think this little loop closure, and you're just going to have to delicately get in there. And I'm going to add one more.
Oh, it's pretty.
Right there. One more. And then I'm going to just go right. We're getting some love, Krista, for you and I being on together.
Oh, this is great.
I hope you'll come on again.
Yes.
Soon.
As long as I don't have to set it up.
Something else. No. There we go. I'll do the demo part. You talk me through it. Okay, there we go. And so then, if this were, again, real jewelry making time and not demo time, I would let 24 hours pass, right? And I do one last little dab of hypo there, and then I'd turn it to the side. I'd unpin it, give myself a little bit more there, and then I'd let it sit. And I'd let it rest for a day. I'd tell it to go have a little rest, and then
a cup of tea.
Right. Then I would clean all of this up. So let's pretend that the hands of time have swept. And let me go ahead and clip this. Hopefully I didn't make that too small, but
no,
we'll see what happens. I'm going to cut away. I'm going to isolate this thread. Make sure that's nice and tight. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to isolate this one and come in and clip. And this one. And again, your glue will be nice and dry, so nothing will come apart. And I only want to cut that thread. There we go. And then I'm going to take this and come in and clip. And that's the one that had my needle on it. So we want to just put all that aside.
And then you want your charms, if you want charms.
Yeah, right. And then, exactly. So let me see. This is, yeah, it's going to slide right on there. Now you want to make sure with this bead here, and I want to show you this, something that I just thought of. You want to make sure that you have enough room, especially on like this type of clasp, because it acts like a toggle, right? So if your bead is too close here to this button, it's not gonna,
you won't be able to close it.
Yeah, you won't be able to close it, right? It's just like a toggle. So you need some space there. So see how this, I could have made this loop just like maybe 2 sets of knots longer, but it actually works okay. And then here you can see with the charms, just add them wherever you want,
right?
Like what you did there with your jump rings.
And I deliberately chose to put it in between 2 beads so that when they flip, they're not rubbing any one
right
place.
So there's a little bit of movement there.
There's movement, and it won't, the charms can't come off because it's in between those 2 beads.
Right, it's kind of captured there. And you cascaded them down.
I did.
So essentially what you do, would you hand me a chain nose?
Sure.
And a regular? And essentially all you need to do is you just need to get your
Dr. Richburg, here's your chain.
Perfect.
Dr. Richburg,
and my bend. Perfect. So just grab that jump ring, open it up, slide that piece on, and then just slide it right in the space where you want it to sit. So I'm going to get that there, and make sure as you close them that you have your ring nice and closed up. And again, we have another tiny bracelet. For the tiny bracelet wallet. Okay. But
I love it. So sweet.
But it does have a lot of your the elements of this piece in it. So I think it's fun. So I think that was fun. So that will bring us, I think, to the end of this broadcast.
Wow.
So thank you, as always, you guys, for watching. You can find us, all the information on our the project as well as the product from today's broadcast right on our website at beadshop.com. And you guys really make sure to sign up for that newsletter because Drea does some great things with it. And I did promise people, do you mind taking that necklace off real quick?
No.
Because I did promise you guys, that I would show you this. And so before we sign off, since it is the last broadcast before the holidays, this is really a stunner. Now you use some beads, Krista, and I'm gonna let you can see it right there. I'm gonna widen this up a little bit, and then I'll put that on screen. These were beads from your stash that you used, right?
Yes. These were just glass beads from my stash, and this actual project taught me a lot about physics, if you can believe it. because I initially knotted these expecting it to be a very long rope length, so sort of 62 inches of rope. And you talk about giving yourself enough rope to hang yourself with.
Right.
When I put the necklace on,
it was just
it was so heavy.
Too weighty.
It was so heavy. I thought, well, this isn't going to work. So I brought it to the retreat, and the lovely ladies on my table were very helpful. Janice and Kate were very helpful in helping me to understand what length should it be where it's not like a millstone around my neck, but it's still versatile.
And what I love here, so this long piece, it has big holes, and so you knotted it on
with
leather.
On distressed violet, which is my favorite.
0.5, I think.
0.5.
Right?
No, actually that was 1.
And so...
And these are tiny barrel knots.
And so you didn't cut this apart. This is the long...
That's the long
62
inch. Yeah.
Right? And so what you did was you doubled those strands over like that. Twice over. And then see how Krista used a big jump ring there to just attach this Love of Lydia chain. And so that's it. She didn't have to unknot this or redo it.
Or cut it up or anything.
She just captured it here and captured it here with the links and put this Love of Lydia chain and a hook from her own stash. And so that's how that's closed up. And so I think this is, and you could, if you ever wanted to wear this as a long piece, you would simply just have to open up those jump rings and it would be a long piece again. So I wanted everybody to kind of see how that was put together. It was really, really fun.
Thank you.
So again, you guys, you can find us, of course, on all of our social at beadshop.com on Instagram. And of course at the bead table, if you make any of the projects from our website or things that you want to share, things like that, please do go over and join us on the bead table. Post them. We would love to have you. So you can find it right on Facebook, and we'd love to have you join us there. And of course, as always, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and get all of our video goodness to guide you through your projects. And yeah, the beads that you have that you're wearing there, Krista, I'm going to put us on there. Those are glass beads.
They're glass. They're glass beads from my collection.
Yep,
that's it.
Here, let me get you more.
No, the knots acted as a spacer.
Yeah. There we go. Come closer.
Yeah.
There we go. All right.
And then these are the same. I just echoed them.
Yeah.
They're just little earrings on the lever back.
I like that.
Right. Because I didn't want anything to compete with the necklace, but I did feel a little bit naked without anything on my earrings.
Like
so
I feel the same way.
I used one of our nun coiled.
Oh yeah, the jump
just rings. Again for a little added interest, and then
very pretty.
Yeah, and a dot head pin.
Perfect. Well, that does it for us before the holidays.
I know. So what do you think you're going to work on over the holidays?
Nothing.
Oh my goodness.
Nothing.
I think I might be a herringbone boo. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
I've got some super duos that are calling to me. Remember me?
Yes.
Who? No.
For
super
duos.
And I no.
You've got some.
Now they're like my friends.
Yeah, I know. Super duos are good. And I did lie. Actually, I have to finish my project for next week, which is my take on some bead embroidery.
Nice.
So I actually have to finish that. So I will be working on a few things. So happy holidays to all of you guys. Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate. Have a fantastic next few days. I will be back with you next week for the final broadcast of the year, which will be that bead embroidery. I'm really excited about it, and we've got some fun things launching for that bead embroidery. And then right at the beginning of the year, the first broadcast of the year, Janice is going to be back on with me, and we're going to do a week of kind of bead doctoring. And you'll get more info about that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That's going to be fun.
But thank you
for
coming on. You'll see Krista again soon. I will see you again soon. Remember, you guys, hang in your pod, wear your mask, wash your hands. We're going to go socially distance.
Fun and safe. And that's our goal. Fun and safe.
Yes. Have a fantastic holiday. Stay safe. And I will see you next week, everybody. Let me see if I can find where I turn this thing off. All right. Thanks again. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Hey.